Hello, chess fans. This is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 150 in the series Viewers Games. If you would like your game to be analyzed on the Chess to Impress YouTube channel, you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. It is the turn of Jakub from Poland. Not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. It's obviously the Polish version of Jacob, so I'll try Jakub. Hi, my name is Jakub. I'm an 18-year-old soon-to-be student of mathematics from Poland. I've been playing chess basically my entire life, but mainly with my family members. I started playing tournaments and training at the age of 15. Now I am 1700 ELO FIDE, but hoping to reach 2200 in the next 3 years. Very ambitious. I consider my style to be heavily reliant on tactical patterns and calculation, thus I'm quite good in aggressive play and endgames. My favorite chess players of the past are Kasparov and Botvinnik, because of their flexibility and straightforward ideas in every phase of their game. Besides chess and maths, I'm also an avid piano player. In the end, I want to wish everyone hearing this introduction a nice day. Peace! I still like your channel very much, keep doing this great work, but you should somehow improve your thumbnails. They don't look well in my opinion. This game was played in a club versus club match with me on board 4. My opponent was rated 1596 ELO and the time control was 90 minutes for the whole game plus a 30-second increment per move. I will also add my comments to this game, you can ignore them if you wish so. I don't mind. Says Jakub. Well, let's have a look at this game. Very nice introduction, Jakub, and I like your ambition to become a 2200 player. Why not? You're only 18 years old. It all needs lots of practice. Tactics, end games, and studying the great games of the past and the present. And of course, analyze your own game, and that's what we're going to do here. Jakub played e4 in this over-the-board game. His opponent played a Sicilian, knight f3, e6, d4, take, take, and here the main moves are either a6 or knight f6 according to the database, but black plays knight c6. Knight c3, and here queen c7 is the main move, but black plays a6. Also fine. Here bishop e2 or bishop e3 are the main moves played in many Grandmaster games, but Jakub plays g3 and he writes, I was unprepared for this game because I wasn't supposed to play with this person. And the Taimanov is not my favorite Sicilian, so I decided to play something offbeat. But g3 makes a lot of sense because it allows me to control the d5 square more firmly. What Jakub means that he's going to put his bishop on g2, and that way he'll have more control over the d5 square. After g3, d6 is the main move. That was played in most Grandmasters games in this position, but black played bishop b4 instead. Jakub is fianchettoing his bishop as planned, and queen a5, putting a lot of pressure on that knight, which is pinned. And this is a very interesting position. What to do? That knight is attacked twice and only defended by the b-pawn. So you have to defend it one more time, you would say. You can make a big blunder by playing bishop d2, forgetting that your knight on d4 is now hanging. That costs you a piece. So that's not good. You can play queen d3 to protect the knight, but then there is knight e5. It's okay for white, but a bit awkward. Your queen is attacked. The best way to play here for white is to sacrifice a pawn. Castling kingside is the best move according to the engine. And it is a pawn sacrifice indeed, because black can take on c3. Then the best move is to take on c6. B takes. You have to take back on c3. Queen takes. Rook b1 with the threat of bishop b2. Hitting the queen and also hitting g7, and then the rook will fall. So f6 is the best move here. Then rook b3 kicking the queen, queen c4 and bishop a3 preventing castling. With more than enough compensation for the pawn, black is far behind in development. So in this position, where black threatens to win a pawn, Sacrificing a pawn by castling kingside is the best move, but it's not so easy to part with pawns. It's easier to part with somebody else's pawns. In a practical game over the board, it's not so easy to castle here. And Jakub decided to hang on to the pawn and play the knight back to e2. Not a great move to make. The knight was very active on d4 and it's now more passive on e2, but understandable that Jakub went for this. Knight ge7, a3, and that bishop is attacked, but not really, because you can just play something like knight g6, because if Jakub then takes the bishop, the rook is hanging in the corner. So a3 is not really attacking the bishop. Still black decided to retreat the bishop, and you can play b4. Is that a fork? Does that win a piece? No, it doesn't, for the same reason. Bishop takes b4, and if you take it, you lose the rook. So after bishop c5, Jakub decided not to play b4. He castled. Good move. And now the engine wants to play knight g6, not being afraid of b4 for that same reason, that you really are not forking two pieces with that move. Still black played the queen back to d8 here. King h1, h5, knight f4 and h4. Black is making his intentions very clear. He wants to attack on the king side. Queen g4 from Jakub, attacking the g7 pawn. Rook h7, defending that pawn and maybe preparing later to double on the h-file. Knight d3, attacking the bishop. Bishop dropped back to a7, is also looking at the king side from there. Bishop g5, and here the engine says taking on g3 is the best move, and after f takes you have to play f6, and this position is about equal. But black decided to play f6 straight away, and now Jakub took on h4, winning a pawn. Black must have thought that this move was impossible, as the bishop is now getting trapped after g7, g5, which was played in the game. Jakub writes, when I played bishop g5, I hoped I would manage to bait my opponent into this line, because now Jakub has a very nice move. His bishop is trapped, but he plays e4, e5, and he writes, the move of the game, maybe I should have put an exclamation mark next to it, or even two. It does everything I need in this position, namely preserves material advantage, vacates the e4 square, weakens the black king, and it's very aesthetic. Indeed, e5 is a very nice move, and white is now winning, has a winning position. The best way to play here, according to the engine, is to take on e5, bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and bishop takes g5. And white is winning. Black still has no development. Look at his pieces. These are all at home. The king is in the center. There's no way to castle kingside, so where will the king find shelter? While white's pieces are all beautiful and coordinating very well. But after e5, f takes e5 was not played. Black decided to take the piece. In a bad position, well, at least you're gonna take some material. At least you have something to show for your trouble. E takes f6 and h takes g3, which Jakub calls a suicidal move. And he says, I assume my opponent was angry at this point. But it's already very difficult to find a good move for black. Jakub decided to recapture on g3, calmly recapturing the pawn, as black cannot save his knight that is attacked on e7. If you try to save your knight, knight f5, then what is the refutation? Do you see it? Yes, it is mate in 1. If you want to look for the mate, put the video on pause, and you'll find that queen g8 is checkmate. So after f takes g3, black cannot save the knight. He played d5 to take the mate out of the position. The king now has a flight square. Jakub took the piece back. Knight takes, and here rook a2 e1 is the best move according to the engine, bringing the last piece to the party. Now all white's pieces are participating. But Jakub played knight e5. Also a good move. Bishop b8, the black position is sad to look at. All his pieces on the first 2 ranks, king in the middle, no development, no coordination. And this is also a very nice move from Jakub. Queen g4 to a4, check, changing the point of attack. b5 was played and knight takes b5. We can hardly call that a sacrifice. That move is screaming to be played. A takes b5, and you have to be careful. Don't take the rook in the corner. It's a nice echo with the variation we looked at earlier when queen takes a1 was possible. Here queen takes a8 is not a good move because of bishop takes e5. And black is back in the game. Jakub saw that, did not take the rook, but took on b5 with check. Keeps harassing black's king. Here bishop d7 is possible, but then there is knight takes, queen takes, and do you see the only move that wins? It's a very nice move. It's well worth putting the video on pause and look for white's only winning move here, which is rook f1 to f8 check. Very nice. Deflecting the king, which has to give up the protection of the queen. King takes and queen takes d7, and white has a winning material advantage. In the game after queen takes b5 check, black decided not to interpose the bishop, but interpose the knight. That knight is just hanging there. Jakub said, thank you very much, I'll take it. Bishop d7, knight takes d7, and if you take with the queen, then you can take the rook. Now it is good to take the rook in the corner with an overwhelming material advantage. White is a rook up. After knight takes d7, black went for desperate measures, saw that he was completely losing and tried a desperate counter-attack with rook takes h2 check, but the refutation is very simple. King takes, queen h4 check, that was the idea. You cannot take the queen because it's pinned, but the attack is toothless. King g1, bishop a7 check. These last few moves were just spite checks because after knight c5 counter check, it is blocking the check and it is giving check to the black king. So a nice move, check and counter check. Here black resigned because it's mate on the next move. Again, if you want to look for the checkmates, they're not very difficult. Black only has 2 legal moves. He can play the king to d8 to get out of the check. Then queen d7 is checkmate. And the other option is to go to e7 with the king. And then we see the same checkmate move with the rook nicely taking the f file away from the king. Jakub says, I remember that after shaking my hand my opponent mumbled, "What a slaughter!" Well, I have to admit, it was very satisfying to hear. And I wonder what a slaughter is in Polish. It was a great game, Jakub. Thank you very much for sharing this. That trap you set with bishop g5 and then taking on h4 was very nice. The fact that you had seen that e4, e5 gives white an overwhelming position was very well thought out. You must have seen that in advance, and based on this game, I think you definitely have the potential to grow your ELO rating much higher, and even as high as the 2200 level, as is your ambition. Thank you very much, Jakub, and well played. I hope you enjoyed Jakub's game, and if you did, I hope you will give the video a thumbs up, that you subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and that you leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.